Have you ever just looked at a world map and thought, wait a minute, there are 8 billion of us, so why does so much of the planet look, well, empty? It's weird, right? You've got cities that are just bursting at the seams, and then these huge, vast stretches of land where there's practically nobody. It's this giant global puzzle. So let's dive in and try to figure out the hidden forces that decide where we all call home.
And the whole thing really starts with one incredible statistic. Just look at this number, 90%. That's almost all of us. The huge, overwhelming majority of every single person on Earth. But 90% of us live? Where exactly?
On just 10% of the Earth's land. I mean, think about that for a second. We are all crammed into this tiny fraction of the available space. It's what creates this world of wild extremes, from the wide, open, lonely spaces of the Siberian tundra to the non-stop, shoulder-to-shoulder energy of a city like Mumbai.
And that leads us right to the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. Why? What on earth is going on? What are these powerful forces that have sculpted our planet into this patchwork of super crowded hubs and these immense, quiet landscapes?
All right, to crack this puzzle, we've got to start with the basics. We're going to go on a little journey here to map out not just where we all live, but the much more important question of why.
So the main tool we're going to use is this idea of population density. It's a really simple concept. How many people are packed into a certain area, like a square kilometer? It's what makes the difference between the vibrant, packed-in feeling of a city like Delhi and, the huge solitary landscapes you'd find in the Australian outback. Density is the number that tells that story.
And it turns out where we choose to settle is basically decided by 3 main forces. You could think of them like giant magnets, right? You've got geographical factors, economic ones, and social factors that are either pulling us toward a place or pushing us away.
Okay, first up, geography. This is the one that just makes sense, right? We're human. We're naturally drawn to places with fresh water to drink, good fertile soil for growing food, and a climate that isn't trying to, kill us. It's why river valleys have been the cradles of civilization for thousands of years, while the frozen poles are still pretty much empty.
Then you've got the incredibly powerful magnet of economics. It's like a chain reaction. You find some valuable minerals or resources, and that leads to industry. Industry, of course, creates jobs. And jobs are what fuel the explosive growth of our biggest cities. This economic pull is what draws millions and millions of people to opportunity hubs, all of them hoping for a better life. And this whole idea of economic pull is part of a bigger story, migration. It's driven by these 2 opposing forces. On one side, you've got push factors, things like no jobs or conflict or just unsafe conditions that literally drive people away from home. And on the other side, you've got pull factors, things like better job opportunities and stability that attract them to new places. This constant dance of push and pull is what's redrawing our population map all the time. But where we live is only half the picture. The population itself is never standing still. It's always changing. So what's the engine that's driving all this change? Well, it really just comes down to 3 basic levers.
And here they are. It's this simple. Births, deaths, and migration. That's it. Every single population change on the entire planet. Whether a city is booming or a whole country is shrinking, it's just the result of the balance between these 3 things.
And the math behind it is actually really straightforward. You just take the number of births and subtract the number of deaths. That gives you what's called the natural increase. Then, you just add the people who move in and subtract the people who move out. That simple little formula tells you everything you need to know about whether a population is actually growing or shrinking.
Okay, now here's where things get really, really interesting. As countries develop and modernize, their populations tend to follow this predictable path, almost like a life cycle. It's this powerful theory that doesn't just explain our past, it might actually give us a peek into our future.
It's called the demographic transition theory. And it basically describes this very predictable shift that happens as a society develops. It goes from a time of high birth rates and high death rates to a modern era where both birth and death rates are low. And the one thing that drives this whole process? Development.
So, let's break it down. In stage 1, you've got pre-industrial societies. Lots of babies are being born, but lots of people are dying too, so the 2 kind of cancel each other out, and the population stays pretty stable. But then look at stage 2. This is where it gets crazy. Thanks to better healthcare and sanitation, death rates start to plummet, but birth rates, they stay high. That massive gap is what creates a population explosion. Finally, in stage 3, for developed societies, the birth rates finally fall to match the low death rates, and the population either stabilizes or can even start to shrink.
So that gap, that period in stage 2, when the death rate is falling but the birth rate is still sky high, that's the flashpoint. That is the moment of explosive growth. And it happens because technology and medicine can advance way faster than social norms about how big a family should be. And right now, a lot of developing nations around the world are right in the middle of that very stage.
Now, all of this might sound like some unstoppable force of nature. But here's the thing. We aren't just passengers on this ride. Societies can, and absolutely do, actively shape their own demographic futures. The real question is, how do they do it?
Well, there's a whole toolkit that societies can use. Some of these are really direct, like promoting family planning programs and making sure people have access to contraceptives. Others are more structural, like social policies that encourage people to get married later, or even tax rules that favor smaller families. But when you look across all of these different strategies, a clear pattern starts to emerge, and it points to two of the most powerful levers for change that we know of.
And this concept right here just hits the nail on the head. The data from all around the world is crystal clear on this. One of the single most effective ways to stabilize population growth is to educate women and empower them to control their own lives and their own futures. It turns out, when women have more choices and more opportunities, family sizes tend to go down, all on their own.
And so, that brings us to the final huge question that's just hanging over all of our futures. As more and more countries complete this demographic journey, will our global population finally actually stabilize? Or are there new, unforeseen challenges on the horizon that could set off another period of explosive growth? The great human puzzle, it seems, is far from solved.